interview.
Great, thanks. The governor has to go to another interview right now, but again, the lessons learned in many of your states, if you introduce legislation like this, the administration will come up with an unbelievable cost estimate of implementing the bill. You can go back and refer to Missouri, how they did it. And again, if you have a governor and they say it's a core function of government, there's very little cost. But the other thing you'll find out a lot of times is your state already has such a system internally. The state budget office has it, the intra system, but they don't want you to know about that. They already have that information. Next we have from Oklahoma, Representative Ken Miller. Representative Miller was first elected to the Oklahoma House in 2004. Again, another historic move. There's a lot of historic things going on. When the Republicans got control of the House for only the second time in the state history. His financial background led him to the position of vice chair of the House Appropriations and Budget Committee after only 2 years in the legislature. That's moving fast. 1 year later, he was elected to the position of chair, where immediately he sought opportunities for modernization and efficiency. And boy, could we use those in the other 49 colonies. Now in his third session as chair, he oversees 7 subcommittees responsible for state fiscal policy. He's implemented Oklahoma's largest ever reduction in government spending while maintaining the delivery of core government services. And this one I really appreciate. Besides doing this, he's an economics professor. This is the real economics, Milton Friedman, free market economics, at Oklahoma Christian University, where he teaches the virtue of free markets at graduate, undergraduate level. Can you imagine having a budget chair who's a doctor in economics and understands real economics? Dr. Representative Bill.
Thank you. It is great to be with you all. I will say that I am not an expert on transparency, but I am very happy to be here. We have frozen state reimbursed travel in Oklahoma, and I wouldn't be here if I weren't on this panel. So I appreciate the opportunity to address you. My exposure really with transparency in budgeting came as a means to an end. This wasn't something that I set out from a representative democracy standpoint that we need to be informed as citizens. It was more of a means to an end on how do we reduce spending, and Sunshine helps that. It helps us put away the wasteful spending if people are watching us more closely. And so that's how I got involved in the effort with the help of a lot of others. The benefits of transparency, I think, are just enormous. Again, mine was so that we could deliver core services and focus our spending on just the areas that we really should instead of those things that might be nice but that we cannot afford. It brings us accountability, which exposes the wasteful spending, which makes us spend better, and that helps us rebuild the public trust that we all know is somewhat lacking in government these days. When we're talking about building transparency, it has to be more than just giving the information. There is huge amounts of information, but if it's not easily accessible in a way that is understandable and in a timely manner, then the information doesn't do you a lot of good. And so that's been our challenge. It seems like the Lieutenant Governor, we also began our efforts at budgeting transparency in 2007. We did a few other things on legislative transparency, which I want to tack on to the end, but with budgeting transparency, that really began for us in 2007. We have a website, it's called openbooks.ok.gov, and that's where we direct through billboards and other things our citizens to go and see how their state government is funded and where the monies come from and where the monies go. And as the last presenter said, we've been building on that. You know, we took the first stab at it and we found some things that, you know, we could do more. I mean, I learned one thing that we could do just in the last presentation, which is putting the delinquent taxes online. We do that through our tax commission. We call it CyberShame, but tacking that onto this website, I think, would be a good thing to do, so I plan on taking that back. What OpenBooksOK.gov started out with in 2007 is it provides the expenditures, it provides where the money comes from, it shows them what our budget is, the different sources of our revenue, and then the agencies as they get the revenue and then where they spend that. It also has information on the incentives, tax incentives, deductions, and so if you take a deduction for getting a green home, then that's going to be listed. You're going to be listed as receiving that deduction. And of course, the other, some of the other credits were listed on the original version as well. This you probably can't see real well. I know I can't on the screen that I have. but this is a screenshot of our homepage of openbooks.ok.gov. You can click on it. The most popular one is there listed at the top. Were the 10 largest state appropriations. Folks want to know. I can tell you there is so little knowledge that the average citizen has about state budgeting, it is remarkable. I can tell you, I'll extend that even further and say that the amount of knowledge that each individual legislator has about budgeting is remarkably low. When I became the vice chair of the Appropriations Committee after just 2 years in the legislature, I had spent 1 year, I was able to spend 1 year with Chairman Chris Benge, who, because of some unfortunate political events, our speaker had to resign unexpectedly, and then my chairman, Chris Benge, was elected speaker. And so then I was kind of thrown into the water pretty quickly. Well, I had been vice chair for a year, but you know, it's kind of like being a passenger in a car. You kind of know where you start, you know where you end up, but you don't really know how you got there. And I had wished that I had paid closer attention in some of those meetings that I was invited to attend. But when I became chair, I was struck by the enormous size of the state budget and how much I did not know. I mean, just learning the acronyms for the funds was a year-long study. Well, I'm someone that's had a ridiculous amount of years of academic study, but I can tell you that being in the legislature is absolutely the best education I have ever received. Being the budget chair kind of takes that up a level because I've had to learn it, sink or swim, so to speak. But if we're meant to be our own governors, which we are, then we have to know what's going on. And our citizens have to know what's going on. And providing them with the funding, which is our #1 responsibility to pass a budget, really does help with that. And we have had a great response to this website as well, with people looking into it. If you click on and you want to see where our government is funded from, well, we see personal income taxes in Oklahoma, unfortunately, is the largest source, and then all the others. But you can see, and this is information that most of our citizens aren't equipped with. They know they pay income taxes, but they don't know what portion of the budget that is. And that's just one small component. It gets much more detailed, and I know that's difficult to see, but this breaks things out in major classes of expenditures. Personnel services, of course, is the large one. We, too, list our state salaries online. You can go there right now and see how much I make, or any member of the legislature, or any person that is employed by state government. But it's broken down into many, many different areas, as you can see there. I'm going to skip that one for time's sake because it's a little bit redundant from later on. This is a P card. This is a state purchasing card that's assigned to this person, Jay Bate. This is now online in Oklahoma, and you can click on and see how much Mr. Bate spends on that P card. We actually increased the limit on our state's credit cards, our P cards, because we can track them so well, and any citizen can track them so well. So we started saying, wow, instead of doing the normal expense and reimburse, let's teach them how to use the cards, give them strict parameters on what they can use it on,